I was getting to my final year. I was listening to Sky. We could get a reception in Cape Coast. Uncle Pierre was obviously there. You could listen to Utai, Caesar, and all those. It was Kwete. Remember Kwete?
Kwete Kwena, yes.
Kwete was on Sky. When my national service time came, I was posted to Tadisco. So I came to Accra. I went to Tadisco and I called Kwete that that your place, I want to be there. I came there one day, and when I came, Kwete took me to Ole. There was Efijan, Mackenzie, and all those squad. So when I came, Kwete took me to Ole, and Kwete knew me way back in Cape Coast. For Kwete, we were mates in Tadisco from Form 1. Mm-hmm. So he knew me and what I could do, even when I went to Express. So he told Ole about me. And I was doing those things in Cape Coast. So for me, I think it was the easiest part. Because Cape Coast, I was doing a program on Saturday mornings where I could take the newspaper, the Mirror, and other things, and pick up the weird stories and read. On Saturday mornings, direct translation. I could just pick it up and then read. So when I came to meet Wole, Uncle Pierre was then on leave, and Abba Moses was struggling with the account news. So when I came, and then Wole said, and then I'll be here. And I said, oh, okay, I could do anything. Do you speak this language? I said, I'm from Cape Coast, that's for fun today, it's easy. Then Wole said, okay, we'll be to me account news. And I said, why not? So apparently, Abba Moses was struggling. So I was there around 8 or something when they finished. Nadole Thompson had finished reading the news. Then they brought it to me for translation. And I came to and I thought it was the easiest thing I've done in years. So they told me to translate it. I said, no problem. We will look at graphic and Mirror and translate it direct. This one that is typed, that is summarized, it will be easier. So I think instead of Wole testing me in the studio, in the other recording studio, he decided to do it right on air. So apparently maybe because of what Kwete had said. Mm-hmm. So I was given the chance after 10 o'clock when they finished the breakfast show. It was A2P and Kwete. They finished the morning show. And then they said, okay, I should go and read. So I read the news to the best of my ability. And then when I finished, there was a standing ovation. Everybody was clapping. They came into the studio. I was like, what's going on? I mean, I've been doing that for a long time. So it was kind of a routine for me. They came to the studio and Wole said I should sit down and do that program. What's it called? Odemsuko or something.
Yes.
I'm was saying Ketona, whatever.
Yeah.
So that was it. I sat down. I did the program. It was me anyway. I was myself. I opened the phone lines and everything and study people were like, oh, piano baby and all that. That started there. I'm taking you to a dangerous area. So they started calling me Opian Ketwa.
Son of Opian, indeed, I remember.
So, the name I mentioned, gradually, yes, so gradually that week, everybody was calling me Opian Ketwa and all that. So I had to bring in something to get my brand. So I had to mention that Abronoma and stretch it to Abronoma just to get the people's attention to register a brand in their head. If I had not done that, probably I would have been known as Opian Ketwa all my life entirely. So that's how it started. That's how Sky came around. And I think I did it for 2 weeks or something. Then Uncle Pierre came back to. He was supposed to go on leave for 4 weeks. Then he came back and said he wanted his program. end of story, I was hired. And I was doing my national service at Tadisco, so it was kind of, I came to stay at Kwesi Kimzongo. That's kind of something for me. That's how come I ended up at Sky. It was 98. I'd finished, I completed university in 98, and I did my national service in 98, 99 at Tadisco. So I think I was God sent for Wale. And they needed somebody to just, maybe I blew them away. I was young, fresh.
That is a beautiful story to hear. I was obviously at Sky at that time. All I knew is Paa Kofi joined Sky. Full stop. No details. Of course, people like someone like Kwete Kwena would have a lot more clearer memory, isn't it? About it. And that is why it's wonderful to have this direct from you, from your perspective. I actually remember how when you came on air, it was, you blew everyone out of the water. I mean, it was just, and I clearly also remember how you were called the son of Opia, or little Opia, But you see, the idea you had that you had to create your own image, easily tells the kind of mindset you have, and by the time you added, that particular name, Abronoma, and then you added playing Dondo live on air, it was so clear there was a massive difference between you and Opia. Opia was a king on his own, but boy, you were a special prince yourself.
They had to do something different. There had to be differentiation.
Yeah. So you did your national service at Tadisco or Takoradi Secondary School at that time, and usually for a year, and then it was over, and then you remained with Sky.
Yeah, I think getting to the end of the year, we always talked about employment. That's when I got a place at Chapel Hill. So he offered me kind of employment, and then he sent me to live in Chapel Hill with Esijan, Yakwanchi, and
Ato, yes. In the mornings, we come and pick you. So the driver, Kujata, would pick me up and then come all the way to Chapel Hill to pick those of you who will be joining us that morning. It was always Ato, because I worked in the newsroom with Ato, so he would always pick us up.
I joined together with Bob.
Bob G.
Yeah, I think we joined at the same time.
Bob had come down from Kumasi.
From Kumasi.
KNUST, yes?
Yes. Around the same time. I came to meet Nadole Thompson, Yuki, Yao was there, Shakes was there.
And Kwesi Fletcher?
Who else? Fletcher had left.
Fletcher had left at the
time. He had left.
Right.
Yes, I didn't meet Fletcher. People was handling the morning show. Yes. And then Mr. Rutai, I'm not open.
Yes, indeed.
So there are some people I didn't meet. I didn't meet Michael Griffith.
Yes.
I didn't meet him. I didn't meet Kimbi. Kimbi or what was his name?
That's Kimbi. We just call him Kimbi. Kingsley Bohin.
Yes, I didn't meet him. I didn't meet him. I mean, those are legends. I heard their names.
You're right.
But I think I held my own.
You were right about those names. They were the pioneers, and I was in that group as well from day one. In fact, I could say...
I think Nana Debbie could also be a factor.
Explain.
Because I was with Nana Debbie in 8th year. You remember Nana Debbie?
And remember her very well because she was one of the pioneers. She was one of the pioneers with Kwesi Fletcher and myself. And in fact, with personally me, I had an association, a strong association with Sky, even before it started, because when the rumors first came that there was going to be a new radio station in Takoradi to be called Sky, I was at the time the Western Regional correspondent for radio and TV. RTV, exactly. At the same time, I was working with Ghanaian Chronicle, right? So I was right onto it. By the time Wilson stepped in Takrady, I was talking to him and all of that, So, it was interesting in that sense. Yes, so Nana Debbie was one of the pioneers as well. In fact, she started the Jolly Breakfast Show together with Kwesi Fletcher.
I think people who knew me that I came to meet was Nana Debbie. No, Nana Debbie had left, but Kwesi and then Esijan to some extent. Esijan was in Adeshe, he was also in UCC, so she knew a bit about me.
So, what are some of the vivid memories you have about Sky?
Wow, that's a lot. One would be the Monkey Hill days. Well, we're going to have Monkey Hill. We have the Friday evenings at Monkey Hill. Uncle is Mafuli, and Monkey Hill, Monkey. Those times. Monkey Hill is one. I remember Buzia Beach. The shows we used to do around Groovy Spots where we block the road. So many good memories. I remember I had an encounter on radio when somebody insulted me and I insulted him back. That's one of my lowest points on radio. The person said I was a boy or something. I said it was Tono. And they said I shouldn't have insulted the person back on radio. I was reflecting.
I remember that.
It was spontaneous. There was nothing I could do about it.
Yeah. Because when you sit on radio, your style was such that when you sat on radio, it wasn't necessarily different from sitting in at a park talking to you. You were yourself. You were very expressive, funny, witty. So I do remember when that person abused you, you immediately fired back with no apologies.
And then later on they said that. I said, okay, fine. I'm sorry, but at that time, it seemed the right thing to do.
The other thing I remember about you is the quality of your communication in Fanti. You spoke like you were raised up around. You were a very well-educated person, no question about it. But you also spoke like that level of education was also at the traditional base where you knew your language, you knew the power of language, you held it very well, and you had respect for traditions, and that appealed to a lot of people and people who have grown up around Takrady all their lives, and just the style with which you spoke your Fanti, it was a mixture of the Cape Coast typical Fanti, and you were a quick learner. You learned very quickly on your feet, and you added the unique Takrady element as well. So it became, in many ways, irresistible.
I think that for me, Cape Coast, we had style. And before I came to Takrady, I think I passed through the mill. I think when you start learning radio in Cape Coast, I don't want to see you become perfect, but Cape Coast and the kind of listeners you have. You could be doing a program on radio. You finish the program, somebody will actually call into the radio station, speak to you privately, and correct your mistakes for you, whether English or Fanti. I quite remember once on ATL, and the Vice Chancellor called me. After the program, the Vice Chancellor called me, and he said I should go and see him in his residence. And I said, usually, right, Vice Chancellor called. And he said, I've been listening to you. You did this, you said this, you said this, you said this. It was a nice program, but this is factually wrong. This is the right thing. Once you speak on radio, on ATL, you represent the image of the university, of the institution. So whatever you give out should be accurate, should be factual. And I was like, okay, thank you, sir. And he had been listening to me all along. So Cape Coast, we had the lives of Amamukaka, Amamupin, those veteran GBC people. They are home. Make a mistake, they will call you off air, correct you. whether it's English, an old lady of over 80 years will call you and say, hey, now them brofna what can I one can them what can they? They'll correct you in such a way. So you kind of have to polish your language to stay afloat in a place like Cape Coast. Now, when I came to Takoradi, it was a bit more cosmopolitan. Then I came and I realized Takoradi, all you need to do is to add their terms to it. The fancy in Cape Coast and Takoradi, there is no much difference apart from Azay and all those things. So I just infused it. And I was on air, to be honest, I was on air, so I didn't know what was happening. And I always say this, I never knew the impact I had in Tadi till I left. I have to be honest. All the time, there was somebody who told me that, Charlie, you are doing well. I was like, once you are in the studio, you don't even know what goes on after. It is when I left that I was talking to people later on. And then one day, is it Joe who showed me the research at that time, my listenership, that I said, really? I was commanding how many percentage of the listeners at that time? I didn't know. I was just being me. For the language, the fancy language, if you live in Cape Coast, it's natural for you. And for me, I did fancy at the O level. So at least I know how to write, how to read, how to do a lot of things. I could do anything with the language. So when I came to Tadi, I think it was a bit easy, adding some few things, and you are good to go. And I think they were embracing it. They accommodated it, and I took it as fun. Just go on radio and be yourself instead of being so rigid, being so particular about it. And Wole was fighting with me all the time, and I'm happy he left me on my own. He realized I was not easy to control, so he left me, and I think that was it. Wole was a very great guy who always wanted you to do what he wanted. And I always wanted to be an independent person. Remember the days I used to play country?
I remember.
They would do my selection for me. I'll come and throw them. Yeah, I'll come and throw them all away and play my own music. I wanted music I could connect to, music I could talk to, music that would affect me, music that I would. And Wole had a way. Wole's musical sense is apt, excellent. He would do the selection for me, put it there. By the time he comes, I would have thrown them away and played my own music. And I will come early and come and listen to all the music I wanted to play track by track. Like, I think that's one of the things that I did so well. So I could come and I would listen to the track, listen to the lyrics, read a bit about the artist and all that. That's what I did. And because I thought I didn't know, anytime I wanted to learn. Wole was a great influence. And he fought with me, but I think he's part of it. I just wanted to prove it. And he realized that though he would do the selection for me, I'll throw it away. I'll play my music. And then people tend to like what I play. So he had to accept it. That's for this boy. I'll leave him. He's not quiet. I remember anytime I did anything for Bob, for instance, Bob would play and Wole would do a selection for him. And when I even kind of played high life, Wole was telling us to move into hip life, which was good anyway. But I thought that CK Mann has no substitute. Paapa Yankson has no substitute. Eddie Crentsil has no substitute. So why replace them?
What a very insightful point to make. And I say that because a few times I have heard Wilson talk about how difficult we all were as employees. But he also made a very good statement that he understands why we were all difficult, because each and everyone who works at Sky is a talented individual and very smart. And so it's very hard to lead us all in the same direction, because we're all creative in our own way, and it's just hard dealing with a group of people like that. And personally, that gave me a fresh perspective as well, because I thought, I loved and liked each and every one of you, my colleagues, right? but you all had your particular ways that can get so annoying. Like you, as an example, you were annoying when you came to the newsroom. You come exactly at a time when brains are at work to crack jokes, and to and you had a way of approaching us that was just beautiful, but not always the time when we wanted you around, But you were coming to do your own research to get a sense of where things are, and you found a way to incorporate some of those things in your own program, like some of the current affairs, some of our expressions, and when we are coming to the studio, the speed at which we come, just how prepared we had to be. Whereas you projected a more relaxed way, even though, of course, underneath you were working hard in your own way. So yeah, it just is a very nice way to show it. And I do remember those days. Wilson would very carefully choose music for just about everybody, and he will come to the newsroom with his own ideas. And sometimes we listen to him. Sometimes, as soon as he walks away, we'll say, don't mind him. And of course, I know, because we're recording this, he's going to hear it one day on air. And I think he himself would have contributions that will kind of complete a conversation such as this, that it was just the way things worked. It was just the natural way. You can't put a group of talented people together and expect everything to be smooth. No, there will be a few bits of storm that produces a beautiful product that Sky was.
I think for him, he wanted a direction for his station. This is the direction, like editorial policy, music-wise. How did he call it? He said we're a peri-urban radio station. That's how he put it, peri-urban. So even the kind of music you play should reflect the image of the station. That's how he put it. So we needed to be away, not play music that once you play music and you don't even play the station ID, people should know this is from Sky, not the radio Abakamba. He wanted that differentiation.
I remember that.
Which was good for him. But for us, and I don't know, but I think that maybe we also wanted to do things for ourselves and things for our image and things for our brand. And I think apart from voice, style also matters. I mean, when I sit somewhere and I'm listening to reggae, I'll know whether it's Mr. Rutai. When I sit somewhere, I'm listening to some kind of song, I'll know this is JM Caesar. I mean, we all created our unique style. And I think that is what set us apart. So I think that for the general good, the station had a policy. There's a policy direction. We're all going this way. But people have individual style. Should I use style? Yes, maybe. We had our style. But I think at the end of the day, I think we really appreciated it. I mean, each one had a unique style. I mean, Uncle Pierre would say, don't play Abin Waha on radio. You make all the noise. Then Abin Waha becomes the biggest hit. So the man had no alternative than to play it, and would rather play the instrumental version. Bang, 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 bang.
I remember that. I remember
don't play
that.
Abin Waha on radio, and it becomes the biggest hit. Now you are forced to play it. So because of what you said in the beginning, you rather end up playing the instrumental version.
Two other things I remember you for. Must be on Sundays when you kill the city with country music. You played Kenny Rogers like he lived in Takoradi. And your little comments along the way, just how you relaxed and talked about it, and a little bit of the background and things like that. The second thing, again, regarding music, is the way you played Highlife. You played it in a way that honored the creators of that music. It looks like you personally had a reverence for the talents of these people. for Paapa Yankson, for CK Mann, for Pat Thomas,
Yeah.
for, I think like you, when I look back, I feel like we all accomplished some things that were very, very special. And as a result of the reverence and respect you had for those music creators, someone like CK Mann became a very, very close friend of yours. In fact, similarly, CK Mann became very close to me. I became close to him. But I think that link was first formed by you, because I remember, he said to CK said to me that he used not to be interested in news and current affairs, but the way we did it and the way we played our music with Paa Kofi and all, that is what drew him. And then he said when he met me, he thought, you can't be this small and speak from the studio.
With that voice.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the things I remember you for. You created, along with all these other great people we both worked with, an image that was just beautiful, irresistible, and so memorable that it touched everyone's emotions.
I think that my friend with CK Mann, for instance, when I went to him, there was a song that he sang at this 70 or 71, Mention a Man sang. It was actually composed by Yabuache. That was his organist at that time. It was sung by Paapa Yankson, of course. So when I read about CK Mann, I mean, as a young man growing up, the good thing is CK Mann usually, all his medleys, if you are from Cape Coast, you don't need to know CK Mann to appreciate his songs. There are songs that we sing along the coast. So more or less, most of them are folk songs. Those are full songs that the fishermen sing along the coast. So what CK Mann did was to put it in the big band domain. So if you are from Cape Coast and you are ardent lover of music, you have a keen ear for traditional music, a traditional song that has been taken to a different level. So when I heard Mensa Namansa, the origin of the song is more or less in Twi. It was written, later on I got to know it was written by Frank Boache, one of his organists, and it was performed by Paapa Yankson. So when I met CK Mann, I asked him about the song. That was the first thing I asked him. And he said, and apparently he didn't have it.
Right. So he says he sang that song at the time you were not born. How do you know about it? And he himself didn't have that particular track.
More or less. So he didn't have it. So then we started talking about music. And at that time, my uncle had a friend, Mr. Odum. He lives in the United States. He had come with some cassettes. You know those times we had cassettes.
Correct.
Some songs of CK Mann in the Latin American vein, not the Mantua type. Apparently, he had done it with the Cuban orchestra. So when he brought the song to me, I went to Uncle CK and played it. I was like, and I was like, apparently he hadn't heard it. You remember he used to stay in the States in those days.
He used to live in the States,
I think it was around that time that they had gone on some tour or something. And he performed with the orchestra. Apparently they recorded it. And then we had a copy. So when I played it, he was confused. He said, now, I'm sure. And somebody brought it from the States. It was Matuabua in a different look. Apart from the singing Matuabua, you will never know this is CK Mann. It was a full Latino version. So I got there, and I think I must give credit to Mr. Wilmot. I don't know if you remember Mr. Wilmot. He was playing in Anaji.
I remember him, yes.
So Mr. Wilmot and then Uncle Kweku Grant, Paa Yankson. Remember him?
Yes.
Yes. So
I remember, yes.
Anytime I go to Uncle CK Mann, he will probably take me to Mr. Wilmot's house. Mr. Wilmot, because he was an old seaman, he had a lot of records. he had a lot of songs. So when I go there, we just say, okay, Kofi, over to you. So I'll be playing the music at home. And I learned so much from there. And I could go to Uncle CK Mann and be asking questions. Why do you sing this way? Why do you do this? Why do you do this? It was like, I'll say how I did. But I had to learn, appreciate it. Why that, and Paapa Yankson, for instance, became my very good friend during the latter stages. And actually, for 2 years before his demise, he was not on talking terms with me because I had criticized him on his album. And then later on, he called me and said, hey, I felt one. And he had done an album, some remixes. I have the full album here. And he brought it to me to listen. That was my second coming to Sky. And when I listened, I said the production wasn't tight because somebody of his caliber, I expected more. So he got angry and said, oh, foolish boy, Mr. Adamotronium now, and all those things. But he couldn't. So it was later on that he said, it's because of me that he didn't release the album. And I said, Uncle Madden, say, the way you criticize me. And I said, oh, me, so why did you give me the music? For me to critique it, right? And I said it. So I thought a relationship, maybe because of my love for music, I thought a relationship with Paapa Yankson, Mann, but Thomas, I have a very strong relationship with him. Crentsil, number one, I go to him almost every time. I had some not too strong relationship with Jualaka. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but those are the people, the big band people that I wanted to listen to. I went to Konimo. I had a full 3-hour interview with him. And he was like, where have you been all these years? I said, I've been around. So, wow. And somebody went there. Somebody went to Konimo. Somebody went to have an interview with Konimo. I recorded it, and the person had to call me that, what did I go and do there? I said, what is it? He said, no. He went to interview in Konimo, and Konimo told him that he should come to me for tutorial. But I seem to know more about him than and my interviews with Kojenchi and others later on. I think they kind of appreciated some of the questions we asked. And sometimes you feel good.
Yeah, because you ask those
about program.
You ask those questions from a creative point of view that is very familiar to those artists, and those artists know that sure we like their music, but we don't always know how they come about it. It's best example I can give you is someone who likes I don't know, maybe a prapransa or fufu or banku, but has no idea how it is cooked, right? But if you have an idea what people go through in order to bring that kind of food to you, and you ask them the question to say, so how do you work out when a cassava is a good one to cook with? And then they will look at you like, have you cooked before? Like, what do you know about cassava? You know, and that's what catches these artists.
When I'm talking to musicians, some of them who do not know me, they think I'm a musician. What instrument do you play? What do you do? I say I play don't know. They start laughing. I said, I don't know. I said, I'm not a musician. I said, no. You played live band before. I said, oh, I used to listen to Western Diamonds. I'm used to, sometimes you go for rehearsals or some band is playing and you could really tell. Maybe this one is not about me. I think every party boy would know. You could really tell something is wrong.
To be fair, secondly, Takrady, Western region and Central region, there's a certain appreciation of music in just about everyone. You know, maybe if I could use Kofi Kinata as an example, when we were at Sky, he would have been, I don't know how old he is as of February 2021, but he would have been a toddler, right?
No, he's not even 30 now.
He's not
even 30 now.
If he's not 30 years old, which means 20 years ago, he was less than 10 years old, right? At that time, there would have been no opportunity for him to connect with us, who were, you know, masters of the Twin City, as it were. You know, but you look at him today, 20 years on, and he's a big star, and he would have taken inspiration from the CK Manns, the way you played their music, the Paapa Yanksons, and so on and so forth, and he's blended it in a way that is totally unique for our time in the 21st century.
You know how he calls me senior. Senior easy, I'm to know, maybe a senior. And sometimes I meet him, I say, you should sing like this, you should do this, a senior. I know that I had them to me yet. Senior, and I already my family level, yeah. You know, the kind of things that they do.
Yeah.
Some of them, man. I think I went to him. We have a song. When I say we, I recorded a song with him. It was for Paa Thomas. So Kofi Nyarko has a song with Paa Thomas yet to be released, and Paa Thomas has a song with Kofi Nyarko yet to be released.
Did you say you were part of that?
Yes.
In what capacity? In what way?
Yes. I facilitated the movement. I wanted a collaboration between them. I think Paa Thomas is one of the few people who have impacted on the youth so much. So he has an album coming up. He wanted to record, and I said, okay, he should do Paa Thomas and Nephews. That was my idea, but he had decided on what he wanted to do. He wanted to release an album. And I said, why don't you do Paa Thomas and Nephews? We did a song with Kofi Nyarko. We did a song with Famille. We have a song with Kwame Eugene. We have a song with Sarkodie. We have a song with Ochame Kwame. We have a song with Medical that's coming up, and another one. I just wanted him to have a feel of the young ones, to impact on them. And the first person we went to was Kofi Nyarko.
Right. And when would that be released?
And when I went to, yes.
When would it be released?
It's almost ready. 2 songs are out already. Time Hotel and Sika. Sika is with Famille. Kofi Nyarko's song is ready. It's just that nowadays you don't release an album at a go.
Yes.
Now you don't release an album at a go. You do it
probably
single by single. So we're working on it. Yeah. It's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful song. For them, I think that working with the legends was something for them. I just told them Uncle Pat wants to. So what I do is I'll make Paa Thomas himself call them and say, I want to do a song with you. Just imagine the kind of
they will feel honored.
Emotions that will run through them.
They will feel honored.
Yes. So that's what I've done. I'm waiting. The album is ready. We're just putting some few things together, and then we'll bring it out. But I'm just worried about the musical scene. It seems we are getting lost with our high life. In our own small way, what we can do too. That was my own small way of helping promote high life. I felt it was getting lost along the line. When the kids sing with the maestros, with the big boys, they will learn some tips from it. I mean, there's nothing like a young one. I had Stoneball with Kojo, which to me was a big one. In Promise with Kojo, at least get that feel. And I always get worried when a young one perform with live band. I get worried. And sometimes you sit down and think, hey, what is stuck with that live band music?
So can I share a memory with you now that you've mentioned live music, live brass band music? And I don't know if this is something you will recall, but it's so very vivid in my mind. Sky FM organized a show, I think, at Buzia Beach. And there were 2 bands in attendance. The great Western Diamonds and Osibisa. And Western Diamonds performed first.
Yeah.
And the way you told the story later, it's what keeps it in my mind. You were very emotional and fervent about it. You said the Western Diamonds was amazing. The sound was just out of this world. And then we were all happy. And then right after that, Osibisa played. And then you didn't have anything to say. You go like, okay, this is global standard. You know?
Last week I was talking to Shabo. You remember Paa Kofi Shabo?
Yes.
The basis for Western Diamonds. the basis for Western Night. On that day, in Costco, you remember Kiki Jan had been in the studio and I interviewed him. That was his last interview.
Remember Kiki Jan. Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that tape is gone.
I was just going to ask you, where is that tape? How can you lose a Kiki Jan tape?
It got lost around. I think it was at Sky. Well, Paa Kofi had played very beautiful when the Western Diamonds. The performance was top notch. Then Osibisa came and started playing. At that time they had infused their group with a lot of people. Osibisa is now an institution. They don't usually go with the old people who started. Mm-hmm. So now wherever they are going, they add somebody. So at that time was Wendell on guitar. It was all those people were there. The trumpeters, Matonto and others were there.
Matonto, yes.
They had the likes
That's the name, yes.
Yeah. Teddy Osei, it was Bessie Simons on keyboards together with Kiki Jan. Kiki Jan had started going on and off, so Bessa was covering for him. And there was Paa Kofi, who I presumed was one of the best bassists in the country. And he was looking at the Osibisa bassist, Mandenge, who is a Cameroonian. And he was like, hey, Padinobo. And I was like, hey, but you, the way they admire you, probably they tell me say somebody they play. And you could see the difference. Oh, this is somebody that, just imagine that you think your best player is Messi. And then Messi sees a player and says, that player is so good. What do you say again?
Yes.
I was talking to this man, for instance, Kai Bannerman. Asking some questions and he said, how come? Why? So no, kind of questions you are asking me. He doesn't have an idea of how many albums he's performed on. Kai Bannerman is one of the greatest guitarists Ghana has ever seen. Going to London, he started with the Kego Sisters, Stay in My Heart and all those days, Felix Owusu and others. So he played the guitar on almost all their songs.
Yes.
He doesn't even remember. Then I started teasing out the songs. He said, who did this? I said, you. Who did this? I said, you. Who did that? It was like, So I could take a bit of a sample of what he did, an intro, then ask him, were you playing jazz or you? They say, who played this? I say, it's you. Say, I don't even remember. And I say, how come? Then they say, it's a studio feeling. When it gets to the studio, that thing comes.
Do you know what? I've heard Paapa Yankson say something like that. That some of those things are what they call studio feelings. You can't manifest in normal life.
Yeah.
And you see, so that story I've just shared with you is just one of the qualities you have as a person, along with others, which kind of made a lot of difference as we went along.
The concept that Osibisa came to do, it was more or less to raise funds for Kiki Jan.
For Kiki Jan, now I remember, because at the time he was addicted to cocaine, and he took all his money away. He came back to Takoradi. And was less than a shadow of his old self.
Yeah. But anytime you put the keyboard in front of him, it was simply amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. When I interviewed him, I asked him, he told me about how he went to become a millionaire, the kind of things I learned so much from him, the kind of things that got into him. The women, the drugs, you know him, everything. He told me about it and how things went for him. It is like when you are at the top, you don't even know when you are getting it wrong. Everything seems so well. And the kind of friends you keep, I think that's one of the things he told me. Like, because your friends came and you think you're on top of the world. And along the line, when everything seems to get finished, they all desert you. That's the high point of the interview I had with him. He was telling me about friends. And I was like, whoa. That was the man. I'm saying he had a lot of friends. I mean, he was the man. And so in his house, there was booze, there was coke, there were women, there was everything. Then things go wrong, and they all gradually fade off.
And you are left alone.
Yeah. I think we were a family. I always say it. look at us. We were all, it was like I see we were all from the same mother. The kind of relationship we had, the kind of teamwork we exhibited, all of us going to Monkey Hill, whether you are old or young. Uncle Pierre will be there, somebody will be playing music. Even Monkey Hill, you had to be there, somebody had to be there. Though you were a news person, you had to be there. I mean, for that, internally, we were one. And then the outdoor programs, I think we created a lot of things. Maybe Italy had not experienced it then, but we made a difference. Big Issue was big. And then both shows, is it the local chat show?
Mm-hmm.
The local chat show was, people looked up to it on Saturday afternoons. Big and then coast to coast. You remember coast to coast?
I remember coast to coast. I remember one-on-one.
Now you look at where you are. Yeah, so look at where you are. Look at where you are and look at where I am. And then we are talking like this, coast to coast.
It was sponsored by Mobitel.
Person for you. No.
I remember it was sponsored by Mobitel, isn't it?
Mobitel. Woo! Bringing me money.